At the end of the talk, you will have identified one thing to change to really increase your impact and your satisfaction. So, what can you see? A smile. That's how good I am at drawing things. Or maybe it's the fantastic capability of our brain to recognize those kind of patterns, right? So would you like to do a quick experiment with me? Yeah? Yeah. Could you stand up, please? And you face your neighbor. If you don't find anybody, you raise your hand, but you face someone, maintain eye contact, face to face, and you put the biggest possible smile on your face. Smile, 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 smile. A big one, already big one. Yeah, yeah, maintain eye contact. Yeah? Ah. How does it feel? Yeah, we are good. Oh, you're beautiful. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, how do you feel? Yeah? Yeah, it's weird. There's something happening, right? Okay, that's those kind of things we will do today. So, at the end of the session, you will have identified one thing to change to increase your impact and your satisfaction. One change. I was in Vienna a few weeks back for a conference, the day of Drucker. So in reality, I was not really in Vienna because it happens the conference was virtual, but it was supposed to be in Vienna. And during one of the breakout sessions, I felt the conversation become really heated about a topic that is dear to my heart. It was about diversity. And I felt there was something happening in the room, and I was not really able to identify what was the problem, but I was able to identify that I was definitely uncomfortable with what was going on. But I did not know why. What was going on? Oh, by the way, do you know what it is? That thing that was on the screen? So if you want to say yes, you use your arm, but you go in the direction of yes. You want to say no, you go on the other. So I know what it is. So if you think it's a medusa, it's not. It's interesting, right? And it's not one organism. It's 4 organisms that are totally distinct, but that are working together to form that thing that we've seen. That thing that is floating there. So there's one, those are zooids. Well, we don't care about that. Those are zooids. There's one dedicated to flotation, so that's convenient. That's its work. There's those tentacles that are below. Some are for nutrition, some digestion, some reproduction, and I think that's all. But those are 4 different organisms. Weird. And so one of the participants in that breakout room asked a question, and I feel that was an interesting question. Let's start the question. Would you favor coherent heterogeneity over diversity? Come on, come on, come on. So, you've noticed that before we had a lot more people that were ready to speak up about that question. Here, there was a lot of people that had no opinion. No opinion, really? Or maybe not willing to share it. So my next question is, how do you feel about the previous questions? Take a deep breath. Try to really identify how do you feel about it. Not necessarily putting a name on the emotion, but really try to think about it, feel it, sorry. Do you feel great about it? It's okay, that's a question. Feel good about it? Or do you feel bad about it? Let's more negative, more uncomfortable, like I was. You need to play for all the questions. You cannot stay there without playing. That's okay. Not looking at anybody in particular, but at all of you that are not playing. That's you need to. So yeah, so we will come back to that in a minute. But first, we need to speak about leadership because Robert said it. So he said everything about it. We'll repeat it a little bit. So for me, leadership is not a status. It's not a role. You're not appointed leader. It's more a behavior, more a mindset. It's pretty difficult to define it as a fixed set of skills. So how can we help people grow their leadership skills? How can we help all people to develop their leadership? So that's what I worked on for some time, and I looked into what people thought was leadership. I asked them about the leadership traits that really stand out to them. And I interviewed a lot of people for that. At some point, I realized that those interviews were good, and I should probably record that, so that I created a podcast. And at some point, I realized that people in my company were really listening to the podcast, and even some of them were willing to participate and to go public about their opinion about what was leadership. It was really cool. But a lot more were not willing to go public about that. So I created an internal podcast. I encourage you to do that. It's fun. We have one episode a week. And it's really fantastic conversation with people. And among all those conversations, I tried to find what was the traits that were really, really important to people. And there's a lot. But there's a few of them that really stand out. And we will go through that today. So as Robert said, I'm Alexis Monville. You've noticed the effort of the pronunciation he did. So I'm French. You maybe guessed that with my accent? Yeah. I didn't pick the Boston accent yet, but it will come. And yeah, I'm a book author. I love that. And I work with Red Hat. I can discuss with some of you about open source or open leadership, open organization, things like that. That could be fun. I hope some of you are using our products. In reality, I know some of you are using our product, because you tell me. So that's cool. So that's where we are. We are starting. We already started. And at some point, it will end. In the middle, we will have 3 parts. And those 3 parts are about those 3 leadership traits that really stand out to people. We're good? Okay, so during one of the interviews I did with Porsche, she was reflecting on the beginning of her career, and she said, really, at the beginning of my career, I thought all that leadership stuff was not for me. And it's really amusing when you know where she is now. So there's something, right? So not a status, not a role, don't need to be a people manager. An individual contributor can obviously be a leader. And you know some of them. Pretty sure you know some of them, right? I'm not taking the risk of asking the question this time. But there will be other questions, so get ready. The first one is the ability to shape the future. So, do you think we can change others? Yeah, that's the moment we need to participate, right? Yeah. Can we change others? You know the drill? Come on, Mom. I have a few yes. It seems the majority is going to no. I'm not saying the majority is right? But I tend to think that it's quite difficult to change others. So it's probably impossible to change others. So what can we do? So maybe we can start to change ourselves, because maybe our behavior will influence others. Right? Sounds okay? So if we can change ourselves, we will change into what? Scary, right? So I was thinking, okay, I would like to be Just my best possible self. That would be the best I could do. So what is my best possible self? And I would like to encourage you to think about it and to invest some time to really work on that. There's one exercise that is really interesting to do. It takes 15 days. So you need to commit to do it for 15 days. Roughly half an hour each day for 15 days. So you create a calendar, 15 boxes. You will tick a box after each day when you do the practice. And for half an hour, you will take a piece of paper or a tablet or a laptop, whatever, and you will write down what is the best possible life you can envision. And you will come back to your write-up every day to improve it. You can restart from scratch if you want. Don't care. And after 15 days, you should have a definition of what is that best possible life, right? And you can start whenever you want. You can do it in your 20s or in your 60s. We don't care. We all know that life expectancy, that thing, is growing. So anyway, we still have some time, but we don't know how much time. I don't want to. We still have some time. So do your write-up. It's incredible that at the end you have a better view of who you are and who you want to be, and that gives you that clarity about the future, and that gives you also the confidence that you can do something about it and you can work on it. And it helps you make those first steps that will probably direct you toward that vision. Yeah, I know, maybe you will revisit that vision from time to time, and that vision will change because the world is spinning around you, and yeah, things change, and it's okay. But you have a future that you define for yourself. Interestingly, you can also do that for a team. And you can do that as a team. Using a shared document, you can start to craft that vision for the team and commit to do it for several days. One way of doing it is doing it for a week. You book 30 minutes in the calendars and you act the document together. Maybe you need a starting point. Maybe you need a few questions to answer to help the team work on that. And that's good because Patrick Lencioni, in his book, The Advantage, worked on those questions. And there's 6 questions you can answer as a team. So those 6 questions will help to clarify things for the team. And as you are doing it as a team, that's really helping the team to align on that. And the simple questions like, who must do what is really interesting because it helps really uncover the hidden assumptions that we make. Yeah, the manager should do that, or that person is not doing his job. But when you discuss as a team, you realize that those persons had no idea that other people were thinking they should do that. So if you're waiting for them, you can wait. Take a seat. So this is a really interesting exercise about shaping the future. So would you describe yourself as really good at shaping the future? So there's a lot of abstention on that question. So we are here. We cover the first one. Done. We look at the time. You've heard that? Really brilliant. That's on the timing for the moment. We are not looking at the content, neither the delivery. That's the timing is important. So I would like to propose a small disruption in the flow, okay? Because there's something that's about that feeling we had before about that question. There's something behind that. And I was thinking that Robert Keegan worked on the stages of adult development, which is really interesting. It's fascinating. That means as adults, we continue to grow. We continue to develop ourselves. We change, right? And he described the different stages. And I found that really fascinating. And he described how at each stage, you are able to handle more complexity. That's perfect because we are in a more complex world. So if we can handle more complexity, it's better, right? So it's really interesting. I was fascinated by that. And I read the definition of one of the stages, that it's self-authoring. And it's really interesting because when we are at that stage, at that form of mind, we can really distance ourselves from our emotions. We may even tweak our own system. We know who we are, we know our values, we have principles. We can really mediate easily between the perspectives of others. We take responsibility. We take our fair share of blame, not too little, not trying to blame others or justify ourselves, not too much, not trying to be ashamed of how bad we are. We take our fair share of blame, so we take our responsibilities. And to summarize that, opinions of others are valued, but they are objects. They are objects we can reflect on them. We are not subject to them. When I read that, I said, yeah, that's pretty cool because that's basically adults. The problem is, he described that as saying that's probably 30% of the population, 3-0. He'd say, but where are the others? So immediately I looked up and I said, okay, what is the next stage, the later stage after that self-authoring? That's self-transforming. I read it and I said, oh yeah, that's really cool. That's exactly where I want to be. You can see growth in all parts of everyday life. You can hold your belief and ideas as objects so you can reflect on them. I said, oh yeah, I'm not there yet, I think. You can hold different perspectives of the same issues together without the need to judge any of them. You can see multiple shades of grays. Not everything is black and white. We don't live in a binary world. The problem is that's only less than 1% of the population. Where are the others? We don't know, but we don't have the time yet because we have a question for you. And this time I would like really that we reach 100% of participation because it's really an important question. Are you an above average driver? Please, go on. Come on. Stood up, clap, answer the question. Are you an above average driver? Uh-huh. No, come on, keep that up. I'm counting. Yeah, we have a statistical issue. The good thing is all the bad drivers are out there because our average is really above the average, if it makes sense. So that's reflecting on the small problem that we have. We sometimes seems to have troubles to identify where we are and to have it's the troubles to identify our own abilities compared to the rest of the world. It's okay, not a big deal. But it's good because anyway, one characteristic of leaders is they are really good at providing feedback and at receiving feedback. So those feedback will help us to identify where we are. And I will take a driving lesson at the end because that's probably a good one. So, audience participation once again. Are you good at providing feedback? Yeah, there's trouble with that binary world. Definitely, the world is more with shade of gray. So it's probably depend on the context. And are you good at receiving feedback? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So all the ones who said yes, I will provide you with some feedback after that. Because you are able to take it, so we're good, right? In her book, Radical Candor, Kim Scott said something about feedback that I found really interesting. And she used a 2x2 matrix. So if you're a consultant, you know what it is. You know how it works. And those two axes are care personally and challenge directly. I found it really interesting. So you can write that? Care personally is the vertical one. So if you don't care personally and you don't provide challenge, but you basically that's insincere, that's probably manipulation. If you challenge directly people, that's interesting. Yeah. That's basically an aggression. You don't care about them. Give them direct feedback, really good. And if it's interesting. If you care personally and you want more shades, people are coming with no. If you care personally but you don't challenge people, you are not really helping them. And let's go to the next one. As you know, the 2x2 matrix, you want to be on the top right, and that's radical candor. That means you can challenge people directly, but for that you need to care personally for them. There's a lot of people who could benefit from my feedback, but if I don't care about them, maybe it's not a good idea to give them the feedback anyway. Maybe I should shut up. Interesting framework, right? So if we take that into account, we can say, okay, I need to get to know the other people if I want to be able to provide a meaningful feedback. And it's interesting because when you meet with people, you have an instantaneous first impression. Good or bad, don't care. You know instantly if you will like those people or not. 15 seconds, that's probably even less than that. That's why the hiring interviews are so dangerous. Especially if you don't have a fixed set of questions you will ask every candidate. I have candidates, I see them, and I already know I don't want to work with them. So I will ask them questions to confirm my first impression, to be sure they will not enter the company, right? That's how it works. So if you want to hire people in the right way, you probably don't want to do that, right? So you need a fixed set of questions to ask to every candidate. And it's probably asking them to relate an experience in some area and giving you as much details as possible. That's for another reason. So the discovery one-on-one is the idea I will propose you to experiment. You take half an hour, you organize a get to know each other meeting, and you get to know the other people you are working with a little bit more. It's just a game, it's a simple game, 3 questions. You ask each other 3 questions, whatever the questions, you can ask whatever questions you want. And in turn, you will ask 1 question. You can ask questions like, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom you want to as a dinner guest. You have an idea? Anyone in the world, living or dead. Incredibly interesting answers from people. If you could do anything in the entire world other than your current job, what would it be? Incredibly interesting answers. And so on and so on. I've been asked recently, what is your superpower? And I was, but that was an interesting question. Once, someone asked me a question and I was about to pass, because I thought it was really inappropriate to ask that question in a professional setting and so on and so on. And then I realized, okay, but why is asking that question? There's something about that. So I finally decided to answer and to be authentic on that. And we had an interesting conversation anyway. But I was really on the verge to pass. But that's okay, I should have. I could have. But that was an interesting conversation anyway. Are you afraid of anything? Those kind of questions. Just to sparkle a conversation that is more interesting than. The interesting part of that is it really creates a relationship and it really changes my perception of other people. I don't feel the same about them after those 30 minutes. Really. That's crazy, huh? You should try. Someone wrote to me and said to me, I tried that, and I had the feeling that we were best friends by the end of the meeting. Okay. Interesting. So we need to be able to overcome the first impression so that we can provide feedback to people and we can help them grow. That's an interesting one. So now we know all that. Think of someone who would really benefit from your feedback. Are you ready to build a relationship so that you can deliver radically candid feedback to them? Audience participation. You have someone in mind? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, good. We're making progress. A small disruption in our journey, once again, because you remember maybe from before, but we were there and we covered only 2 of the 4 stages. There's 5, but 4 are the ones that interest us today. Socialized form of mind. The cool thing is that's the majority of people, that's 55% of the population, so we are getting there. They see the world mainly through the ideas and theories of others. They care about others' expectations. They can be really loyal to a system, to people, to ideas. They really want to belong. They could even be militant to support some ideas or system or people. They can even burn themselves for a cause. Really be invested in pushing those ideas. And they don't see the world totally in black or white. They can start to see shades of grays. Really cool, right? And the last one, that's 15% of the population. That's the self-sovereign mind. That's the imperial mind. That's mainly what we could see when humans are moving from childhood to adolescence. And it stays as an adult stage of development. That's really being self-centered on your own needs. The interesting part is we can all fall back to our earlier stage form of mind, under stress, for example. So we probably can relate to the other stage of development or form of mind. That's what I want, what impacts me. They tend to have more stable opinion. They tend to obey rules, like rules, appreciate rules. Be careful on that one because breaking all the rules could be a rule. So it's just a dangerous way of saying. They cannot handle a lot of complexity, but they are really clear on seeing cause and effect. And they are really clear on on describing the world in black or white. There's no shade of grays. when people start to try to explain things, telling they are more complex, and start to explain that it's neither black or white, that's more in the middle, that there's more nuances and so on, they feel that those people are trying to mess up with them, making things more complex than they are. Interestingly, you can hear in the political discourse different approach to that issue. That either you are over-polarizing the debate, so you are satisfying your needs of a self-sovereign form of mind, or either you are trying to elevate the debate, explaining the complexity of the world, and you're alienating yourselves with the 15% of population that cannot see the complexity of it. It's an interesting problem. But it brings us back to that idea of development and solving complex problems in a complex world, and helping other people to grow, right? I don't know if he knew about Keegan. I don't think they are on the same timeline. But it's an interesting observation, right? So if we want to provide feedback to people, we maybe want to provide them with feedback that will help them grow to a later form of mind. And maybe we want ourselves to be able to grow to a later form of mind. That's our path to enlightenment. That's not Keegan, that part. So I was in a workshop 2 weeks ago, I think. And that was an interesting workshop. We were having a workshop to be better inclusive leaders. So inclusion is important. And I told a story about a question that I used a lot of time when I was meeting with new people. I was asking a simple question, it's, where are you from? And I love to ask that question, because people were always really creative to answer it. There was people saying, oh yeah, I'm from accounting, or I'm from Vienna, or I'm from France, or I'm from the US, or I'm from Massachusetts, I'm from Boston, I'm from, or that university, or. And I thought it was really a good conversation starter. Until the moment I realized that when I was asking the questions to some people, how they felt about it was, you think I don't belong. So you're asking me where I am from because you feel I don't belong. And I said, oh, that's a problem. So I told that story in the workshop. And one of my peers in the, now I said it. One of my peers said, give me a break. We cannot say anything anymore. And I didn't know what to tell him at that moment. Didn't know what to say. I tried to reflect on it because, of course, I thought that was inappropriate. So I tried to explain my point. I said, listen, I've lived in Boston for a few years. And of course, as soon as I open my mouth, people are able to see I'm not from Boston, and to hear that I'm not from Boston. And we were playing golf with my wife. So now, you know, I'm old and I'm playing golf. That's not good. And one of the other players asked my wife, where are you from? And I could hear in her answer that she was uncomfortable. And she said, we are from Westford. Westford was the town where we were living. And the guy insisted a little bit, said, where are you really from? Just to push it a little bit more. And she was really annoyed with that. So that's at that point, of course, we were trying to renew our visa. That was Trump, and there was a lot of things around immigration. Yeah, a lot of things to tell you, you don't belong here. So I stopped using the where are you from questions from that reason. Why do you want to know? Is it really a good conversation starter? And I told someone else, oh, maybe I should have called him out of making that comment about, well, give me a break. But was it the right thing to do, calling him in out in the meeting? Reflecting on that, someone helped me with that and said, maybe you should have called him in. because it was visibly really heated, it was really sensitive. There was a lot of energy in that answer, in that statement. Why that? Be curious about it. Be curious about, okay, there's something going on there. That's maybe caring personally for people. So I should be curious and go toward that person to try to understand what is going on there, where all that energy is coming from. And that's probably a path to be more inclusive. So that's the path to try to provide more meaningful feedback. That's probably what I should do. I will tell you next time how it went. So we are here. So now, you're serious about things. The last one is getting things done. And there's an interesting thing about getting things done, because you can do really a lot of things. The question is, are they the right one? Because if you are doing things but they are not the right one, that's probably useless. And the cool thing is you have someone in the room right now who found the best way to do it. So don't say his name, because he's not looking at the screen, so he cannot see that. Now he's looking. So impact mapping is the easiest way to be sure that you are solving the right problem. And so that's a good path to get things done that are the right things, right? You know how impact mapping works? So I have a yes and no, so we will continue. Yeah, that's perfect. I have among the participants who answered, we will then continue and explain impact mapping with a small example. Are we good? How it works, 4 columns, why, who, how, what. So our example is, we want to have a fantastic picnic, right? Fantastic picnic. With who? So the why is why we are doing those things. So that's really our goal, all right? So with who? With our partner, of course. That's who are the actors, the people that will be influenced by what we are doing, or that will influence the results, okay? What could be annoying if there were mosquitoes coming? That would be annoying, right? So what could be the behavior of our mosquitoes so we can reach our goal to have a fantastic picnic? One thing could be that they don't show up. If we don't have mosquitoes, we have a fantastic picnic, right? And now, what are the things we can do so that mosquitoes don't show up? So that's the behavioral change. What are the things? And we can imagine a lot of different things. We can fix the watering system to avoid having water everywhere and grow our own mosquitoes, for example. We can plant repulsive plants. We can buy sound devices that are really annoying, really high-frequency sound. And you can eliminate also the teenagers and the kids. They don't support that sound. Adults, we don't care. We don't hear that frequency anymore. So that's good. Of course, another behavioral change would be they don't bite. If they show up, they don't bite. It's good. And off lotion could work for that. Okay? That's how it works. Really simple, right? The cool thing is it's really the best way to define your OKRs, if you've heard those names. That's objectives and key results. Because then the objective is the why, and the how, the behavioral change, is the key result. So in that case, there's no mosquito bites at the picnic. Or if you're more selfish, you said not more than 50% of people will be bitten by mosquitoes, and it's not me. But that's you define the key result as you want. That's the behavioral change. And I would encourage you to define your own key results, your own objectives and key results. Now you know where you want to go. Start to get some goals and start to look at the behavioral change and what you can measure to have that behavioral change. You can do that and show your key results, your objectives and key results, your OKRs to your peers in the team, for example, and start to have a discussion on that. Maybe they can help you. Maybe they can say, hey, I know how to help you with that one. That would be cool. Even that could become OKRs for the team, which would be even better. But it's not all. You really want to focus on the behavioral change. And I would recommend you to read, that's not the right picture, but we don't care. The Radical Focus is a book written by Christina Woodkey, and it's a really an interesting one. But it's not all. To quote Goiko another time, once you have goals, you need to be able to execute on them. So you need the execution part. You need to put in place that kind of execution. So that cadence of execution, weekly, monthly, quarterly, when you reflect on what you did and how it moved the needle, individually and as a team. And that's where we are. We are at the end. And the question I have for you is it possible for your organization to do all those things? And sometimes I've been told, no, it's not possible. In a startup, it could work, but our organization, we have our way of doing things. We cannot do those kind of things. And just imagine that you are sick, and you're going to a medical doctor. That's a doctor stock photo here. Would you be fine with an answer like, you are sick. It's bad. So let me call you your parents, and I will tell them to start over from scratch. No, it's not a reasonable answer, right? So the only reasonable answer is change. One change.